Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here at this great event. My name is Craig Selfo. I am the Lending Regional Manager, Ponchatoula and St. Tammany Markets of First Guaranty Bank. First Guaranty has had a long partnership with Southeastern. We're happy to be a catalyst sponsor of this event. First Guaranty has been named the best small bank in America for the last 3 years by Newsweek. I'm sure most of you who have been in Tangipahoa Parish have seen all those signs everywhere, but we're very proud of that distinction. It is my honor to introduce our next speaker. Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple has worked in the insurance sector for 2 decades. He served as the president of TempTan, a family-owned investment management business in Baton Rouge. He has also served as the chair of the Louisiana Committee of 100 for Economic Development. Now, as the state's top insurance official, Tim is committed to protecting the interests of policyholders while promoting a flourishing insurance market that benefits all residents and businesses. He is well aware of his vital role that his office plays in the future of our region, and we are eager to hear his vision for addressing the insurance crisis in Louisiana. It's an honor to have Tim here. He has pushed off some very important events from this morning in Baton Rouge to be here for us. And I'm happy to welcome our Louisiana Insurance Commissioner, Mr. Tim Temple.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you. Hey, good morning. Can y'all hear me? Great. I don't like podiums, so thank you so much. Thank you for letting me be here today. I did want to acknowledge real quick, this is my first time to ever hold office. Never been a public official before. Something you need to do often, though, is I know we had our parish president, Mr. Cooper. Will you stand up, please? Any other elected officials in the room? Anybody? Here we got. I just want, look, please give these people a round of applause. I'll tell you, when you run for office, you put yourself out there for all the criticism that comes or doesn't come with it, with the office, either rightly or wrongly, and it can be trying at times. And so it is, from that standpoint, it comes with the job and you accept it, but it is hard on your family sometimes. So I want to thank you, and I really want to thank your spouses, because you can't do the job without their support. So real quick, also, where are all our green jackets? We're the students with the Southeastern, back in the corner. Great event. You need to be proud of this. This is a great room. Okay, so insurance. Everybody wants to talk about that real quick? We all know we're in a crisis. We all know we've got, high rates, availability, affordability. That's the 2 words I use all the time. It's not available, and when it is, it's certainly unaffordable. And that is, I've got a package of bills that we're working at through the legislative process in Baton Rouge designed to address this crisis. And it's not something that I came up with by myself. I didn't just, sit in my office and, drink a Tito's and say, oh, let's try this, let's try that. I mean, these are things, I served as a co-chair of our new governor, our newly elected governor. He convened an insurance crisis council. I think we had 18 individuals from industry, attorneys, business owners, elected officials. We had a whole host of people talking about what are the problems and coming up with solutions. And when I became commissioner-elect in August of last year, I convened 5 different councils designed to do similar things. And so all of the things that we're proposing, I've got a package of about 19 bills that are working through the process, and those are all designed to address the crisis. And we've got 2 primary crises. We have a property crisis, and then we've got an auto crisis. And I can tell you, as of yesterday, we had 4 bills that have now passed the House and Senate, but came out of both chambers. They will be headed to the governor's desk next week. We hope to have a bill signing and a press conference on that on the property side. We've passed fair claims, which Senator Kirk Talbot, who's the chair of Senate Insurance, that he authored that bill. We passed, Senator Cloud passed a file and use. File and use, I got to think about that. File and use. And then we passed 2 House bills, one by Representative Willard, which eliminated the sunset provision on the fortified roofing program, which is a very good program. And then we had the fourth bill that passed was the 3-year rule by House Insurance Committee Chairman Gabe Furman. So those 4 bills will now be headed to the governor's desk, and those are designed to at least start to turn the property crisis. We still have a lot to do on the auto side. I've said it before that we have a litigation issue in Louisiana, and we have got to get away. We've got to move from litigation being a substitution for the fair claims process, because that's what it's turned into. And I don't have anything against attorneys, but you do notice I do move around a lot. But look, if you've had a claim experience and it didn't operate, it didn't go the way you wanted, you didn't get paid timely, and you didn't get paid accurately, you do have legal recourse at the end of the day, and we're not taking that away from you. But we need to make sure that the insurance business process, you pay premiums, you file a claim, the insurance company adjusts your claim. We need to get that back in process instead of you pay your premium, you have a claim, and you hire an attorney. That doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. You can keep doing that if you want to, and guess what? You're just going to keep paying higher and higher and higher premiums as less companies want to operate in our state. And so to get back to that, insurance companies do not have to do business in the state of Louisiana. There is no law that says you must come and put your capital at risk in our state. And guess what? They aren't doing that right now. We had 12 companies go insolvent after Hurricanes Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida, and we've had more than 24, it's really more than 30, have left. They just said, you know what? We're not doing business here anymore. The regulatory environment's too tough, the legal environment's too tough, and we can go take our capital and we can deploy it in Texas or Mississippi or Alabama or Florida or anywhere else we want to, and we're going to be treated more fairly and have an opportunity to at least make money. And that's what they're doing. And so we're trying to shape Louisiana back into a state where companies feel that they can come and deploy their capital, put it at risk, and be treated fairly, not at the expense of the consumer. You got to remember, at the end of the day, they want to sell their product. And if their product isn't affordable, and if they don't treat you fairly, then you're not going to continue to use them. So we've got to get back into that cycle. So that's the focus. That's my focus, and you heard. I grew up in this industry. I worked in it for over 20 years. It is complex. It is. And I was doing a radio program on the drive down, and I was talking about some of the terms, and I kept using actuarial study. And the radio host said, whoa, Tim, you may have to explain to my listeners what an actuarial study is, because a lot of people just don't know. And he's right. Most people don't know what a deductible, how it works. They don't know what an actuarial table looks like. They don't know, how the claims process starts. And that's one of the things as a commissioner that I'm going to start doing is, y'all got me on the screen, I apologize. One of the things that I'm going to do as commissioner is outreach to the public and start doing some kind of, I guess not promotional, but just explaining what all these terms are. Because as a consumer, you really don't care. You just want something that's affordable, right? You just want to be able to have the money in the bank when you write that check. And that's fair, but I do think that an educated consumer is a better consumer. And so we're going to start doing some outreach and just explaining some of these, probably, what I think are, in my mind, easily understandable terms. But we want the, the general voter and consumer to know what they are. So we're working through that. As it relates to economic development, everybody is working hard. You've got a new governor who, I think at Lobby event a couple of months now, he said that he wanted to replace the state bird with cranes because we want to have a lot of construction. We want new jobs. We want industry coming here. And he's right. And there's a lot of support for that. And you're going to hear from Susan, our new Secretary of LED. And that's her mission, is to help grow and promote Louisiana's economic development. But let me tell you, when your auto rates are the highest in the country, and your homeowners rates are the highest or second highest, and it really doesn't matter if it's one or two, it's still high. When they're the first or second highest in the country, when your commercial trucking rates are dang near non-existent because there's only one or two companies willing to write commercial trucking left in our state, and when the commercial property rates are, again, just so expensive that, businesses are trying to figure out how to go with less. When you've got all those things, headwinds against economic development, and then you're sitting here saying, hey, come to Louisiana. Come do business. Come build a facility. Come put trucks on the road. Hire employees, move employees to Louisiana. But oh, by the way, your homeowners is going to double. Your auto's certainly going to double. Your commercial exposure, just get ready just to try and pass that on to your consumers. Those are the headwinds that our state faces when it comes to economic development. And so I understand that we've got to work, and Susan's going to be a great partner. She was actually on a trip to London last December with us. And I jokingly tell her that was kind of on-the-job training. It was an interview. She just didn't know it for LED. But she did a great job over there representing the needs and the focus of the state of Louisiana when it comes to economic development and how it ties in with insurance. And so she's a great person. I'm really excited for her, and I'm excited with the new vision of LED, what that is and what the design of that office is going to be going forward. But again, back to insurance. We've got to have reform, And I think in the intro it said, the part of the charge is consumer protection. But I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't afford the product, then what are you being protected from? And, every day my office gets a phone call, an email, a letter. I can't go in the grocery store now. I got to wear a baseball cap and sunglasses because people just come and want to talk to me about their insurance problems, and that's fine. But every single person is telling me, I can't afford my insurance. Or I'm having to buy less insurance to make it work within my budget. Or I don't have a mortgage on my home and I'm just going to roll the dice. People can't afford it. That's what we're focused on. The other side is like, well, you got to consumer protection. You got to make sure that people can litigate whenever they want. I get it. But they are not going to have the product that they want to litigate against at the end of the day. So we've got to make sure that we're working to make the product available. And it's my job as commissioner to make sure that the consumer is protected at the end of the day. And I appreciate all the consumer advocacy groups out there that say, hey, we're out here to protect the consumer. That's our job. No, it's not your job. The state of Louisiana elected a commissioner of insurance to make sure that the consumer is protected. And I take that charge extremely seriously, and we work and focus on that every day to make sure that consumers aren't being taken advantage of. But again, I get back to it. If they can't afford the product, then what's the mission? What's the point of that? And so all these things that the legislature is doing, again, it's designed to shape Louisiana into a state where companies that are here did the right thing, they bought the right reinsurance, they had the right surplus, capital reserves. They did everything they needed to do to survive hurricane and stay in business. We want to make sure that those companies continue to do that. They want to stay here. They want to thrive and be profitable so that they can pay claims in the future. But we've also got to promote the state so that new companies come in. And that's what you, as a consumer, want. You want competition. And I know my friends over there at State Farm are like, wait a second. But you want competition. No insurance company, it's a retail product that's unlike a lot. If you sell bottles of water, or if you sell shirts or shoes or whatever it is, you want 100% market penetration. You want everybody to buy your product. Insurance companies aren't like that. They don't want everybody. They don't want to have 100% of market penetration in anywhere. So they want competition. You want competition. And that's what we're doing. We're going to make it so Louisiana comes back and you're going to start seeing new companies come back and wanting to write your business. Instead of having one quote or two quotes, we want to get back where you've got 26 markets supporting the independent agents. And you've got the direct markets feeling comfortable and confident that they can write more business in our state. And that's, again, every day, that's the mission over there. So, I've been very thankful for the support of the governor on property reform. He has been very outspoken that we need it. He's been supportive through the legislative process on property reform. The House and Senate leadership, our Speaker, Philip DeVilliers, and our Senate President, Cameron Henry, have been very, very supportive. We actually got those 4 bills out yesterday. We never would have done that. Never would have happened if the leadership in both houses didn't support that. So I'm thankful for them. And then again, we've got House and Senate chairmen that have been they're very knowledgeable. And I'll tell you, both committees, the House and Insurance committees, both have a lot of good members on it that understand the mission. And I was at an event last night, and someone said, you've got the worst job in the state, you've got the hardest job in the state, how are you going to do that? And I said, I'm going to do that and tackle this crisis with the support of the legislature with all those folks in there. It's not just me, it's the support of all those people I mentioned, but it's also the support of you. You know, I need you, we at the Capitol need you calling your legislators, telling them support insurance reform. Call your governor, tell him support insurance reform. You know, like I said, call President Cooper, tell him to call everybody he knows and support insurance reform. It's important. I think it's the single greatest crisis our state's facing right now, because like I said, we can do all this economic development all day long, but if the company can't afford to be here and the employees can't afford to live here, then what are we doing? So I did say I'd be happy to take some questions, so, I've got maybe 10 minutes to do that if you want. Unless they're hard questions, then I've only got 2 minutes.
The first question is, how are you collaborating with other agencies to address financial and societal challenges?
The last part, financial and?
Societal challenges.
Yeah, look, I think part of the societal challenges is, you know, like I said, the unaffordability. And you've got, you have, you know, elderly families that they did the right thing. They bought, you know, they got a 30-year mortgage. They paid it off. And now insurance, the cost is so high that they're saying, you know what, we're going to roll that dice and we're just not going to, you know, we're going to see, hopefully pray, no hurricane and our home isn't destroyed. I mean, that's going to create, that has the potential to create a huge crisis for our state because a lot of times the home is the single largest asset, you know, the individuals or families have. And if it's going uninsured and then they have damage to it, they don't have the resources of that. So I am, you know, like I said, I've reached out. Susan and I work well talking about economic development for the state, but I'm working with the Louisiana Housing Council to figure out, you know, how we can try and work to get funds on the fortified roof program, which I mentioned, and I can go into detail on that if I need to, but how to rework that program so that folks that are more financially challenged, so that, you know, if you get a $400 a year increase in your homeowners, $400 a year to them, and I know there's much higher numbers, examples out there, but, you know, $400 to someone on a fixed income or a low, moderate income, I mean, that literally makes people, whether they can buy, you know, an extra set of groceries, you know, that month or that year or not. So we got to work through that. And I'm working with the Louisiana Housing Council to try and identify folks that we can get a fortified roof on so they get a discount and they get that savings for that. But we're reaching out to all the agencies, Louisiana, what's it called now? It used to be the Department of Health, but whatever they're called now. We're working with them on some healthcare initiatives. You know, I've reached out to the Treasury's office. We're trying to stand up a self-insured fund for an agricultural group. So we're very outward-facing, and like I said, every single folk over there at the Capitol, they all have my phone number. They know they can reach me if they've got a problem, and I'm trying to be very accessible.
Okay, we have another question. How do we slow down and deter the legal predatory environment where the attorneys prey on the commercial vehicle operators?
Well, look, there's some bills going through the legislative process right now, but I think from the seat that I'm in, like I said, it's part of the messaging is there is an established claims process. You know, and I'm a firm believer. I mean, you paid good money to an insurance company in the form of premium to handle your claim. So when you have a claim, let that company do what you paid them to do. Give them a chance to settle the claim fairly, equitably, you know, and timely. And like I said, at the end of that process, if it doesn't work, you still have a legal recourse. But we've got to shift from the first thing you do is pick up the phone and call an attorney, you know. And again, there's a place in the business ecosystem for that to operate, but it needs to operate linearly like that. You pay your premium, you have a claim, you file your claim, you let your company try and take care of the claim. So we've got to keep continuing to make that message out there instead of just, oh, kitchen fire, pick up the phone and call 444-888, whatever the number is. You know, we got to move away from that and get the companies back in the claims business.
Any reform for people who are being priced out of their homes because the insurance is going up so they can't afford the mortgage payments?
Look, you know, I'm having some conversations back, I was about to say debates, but we're having some conversations with some legislators that feel that the state needs to require mandates for people that can't afford. And again, I had we were in a committee yesterday, and somebody wants to put a mandate for the fortified roof program that says if you get a fortified roof, the insurance company must give you X, and X to them is 20 to 30% credit. It's a mandate, and guess what? When you have a mandate, somebody pays for that. You know, I'm pushing back on that. I think that insurance companies need to determine actuarially what the discount needs to be. I've got another legislator that said, you know, government failed, that the Department of Insurance and the state of Louisiana were complicit in allowing the insurance crisis to get to where it is today, and that the insurance industry needs to come and fix it in the form of requiring premiums to be decreased, handing out, you know, credits, that kind of stuff. So the government failed, but yet the private industry has to pick that up. You know, if the government failed, then the government needs to you know, turn around. If people are saying that, you know, my insurance is $1,000 more than I can afford, well, if the state of Louisiana has enough money and they want to turn around and hand out $1,000 to everybody to help offset their insurance cost, then that's the legislature. They're the ones with the checkbooks, and they can do that. But I'm trying to regulate an industry and promote one to come back into so that we have that consumer protection. So there's a little bit of difference in philosophy on how do we do that. Like I said, I don't believe that, you know, I want less government in our lives and not more. And there's people at the Capitol that think that the government should be an answer for every problem out there.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
How are you?
I appreciate all of your efforts that you're trying to help this crisis that we're having. This past year, my homeowners doubled. And so all the efforts that you're putting through the legislature, what kind of timeline are we looking for relief?
That's the second favorite word at the Capitol. You've got mandates and guarantees. And look, and I get asked that question a lot. When is this going to impact me? You know, and I get it. And again, families are struggling, businesses are struggling. And I cannot put a date that if the laws that passed yesterday, you know, I can't sit here and tell you in 65 days or 95 days that you're going to see a decrease in your premiums. What I can say is as soon as that becomes law, the industry knows that we're now a state that is more attractive on the property market, which means the cost of capital should come down, the cost of reinsurance should come down. I say should, it will. It's just not going to be immediate. And I can tell you, you know, next month is Hurricane Awareness Month, Hurricane Preparation Month. June 1st is right around the corner. You know, any company that's got any type of financial sense is not going to come in and start writing new policies in a hurricane season. But when we do this change, and we started yesterday, the clock of change started yesterday when those bills were passed out of both chambers. And so it will come. And I cannot stand here and say, January 1st, expect a whole new set of companies. I do anticipate that companies, look, and again, I was coming here this morning after I did the radio interview, I was talking to a broker in London, and I was telling him, you know, what happened yesterday, and he said, great, I need to get the word out. I'm going to get the word out because the markets need to know that things are changing. And so I wish I could tell you January 1st is going to happen, but it is going to happen.
Alan Trifley with the St. Tammany Chamber.
Yes, sir.
I got a couple of questions. Number one, could you repeat the House bills so I can write them down so I can track them?
House Bill 120 by Representative Willard. Who's my other House bill? House Bill 611 by Gabe Furman, Chairman Furman. And then the Senate bill was Senate Bill, you're putting me to the test here, Senate Bill 323 by Talbot, and Senate Bill 295 by Senator Cloud.
Okay, can you explain the 3-year?
I passed that test, yeah. I don't know, you got to fact check it first.
I'm impressed. So, by the way, I want to thank you for your service. Okay?
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Can you explain the new 3-year drop rule? Okay?
Yes, sir.
And because the question I have as a consumer is that if I get dropped for any reason, and they decide not to renew me, how does that help me? Okay, and what I've heard is that, oh, well, it's going to open up other markets to you. If I get dropped, I'm in panic mode. That's happened to me in the past, okay, and I'm scrambling for coverage. So can you just explain the mechanics, how that bill works?
Sure. So the 3-year rule is actually a 4-year rule. It's 3 renewals.
Okay.
And once your homeowner's company has offered you a 3rd renewal on your homeowner's policy, by law, they cannot non-renew you for as long as they do business in the state of Louisiana. They have to do business with you. We're the only state in America that has this law. We're the only jurisdiction on this planet that has this law. We say, you, the company, must do business with the consumer. And it's been touted for the last 18 years as the best consumer protection bill in the world. And it's actually the opposite. It inhibits a company's ability to manage their book of business, to manage their exposure. And it also inhibits companies from wanting to come in and write because they go, wait a second, I'm back to the capital issue. I can deploy my capital in Texas. I can write a home for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 1 year. And if I choose for whatever reason not to, then I don't have to. I can do the same thing in Texas or Mississippi and Alabama and everywhere else. But in Louisiana, you make me do that? Raise your hand if you've got a business and that's what you want, you know. And the example is, you know, you sell hamburgers. And after 3 years, you've had that hamburger on the menu. And then, you know what? You're losing money on the hamburger. The cost of, you know, your hamburger buns has gone up and your consumers can't afford that anymore. But because you've offered hamburgers, you still have to sell them. And you're selling them for a loss. Too bad for you, business. You got to do it. 3-year rule. Same thing with insurance. And to your point, look, the law that was passed yesterday says that insurance companies, because we're not going to rip that Band-Aid off. It would create additional chaos in an already, you know, chaotic marketplace. And so it's going to allow companies that have their portfolio that's subject to that 3-year rule to non-renew up to 5% of their their statewide book of business every year. 5%. I think that's a small number, but to your point, if it's you don't care. It's, you know, you feel that, okay, that was me, got picked on. But look, there is no guarantee that anybody should have to write you. I think what it's going to do is encourage people to make sure that their home is an attractive risk. I mean, there's a lot of people, and it happens. They're like, you know what? They can't drop me, so I'm not going to keep my home maintained as I need to. Yeah, I've got a 20-year roof that needs replacing, but guess what? I'm just going to wait for the next time the wind blows. I'm going to let the insurance company pay for that. I mean, that's what happens. It's adverse selection against the insurance carriers. And so the other part of that law that is going to take effect is that starting August 1st, any new policy written in the state is not subject to the 3-year rule. So now companies will be able to, again, they can manage their risk. Because let me tell you, if they're writing my home and it's a bad risk and they really don't want to, but because of the 3-year rule, they have to stay on my home, that means that capital is trapped. They have to insure me. They have to buy reinsurance on my, on their portfolio, which my home is part of. They have to do business with me. So they may not want to write your home because they can't. They can't afford to do it because they got to keep capital tied up over here. So we're going to get back to letting businesses manage their risk, spurring that competition. And I think August 1st, I do think that you'll start seeing companies that are already here start writing more business because now they know that they can write my home, and next year if they don't want to, they don't have to, or the year after, the year after, the year after. So, and again, I get it. If it's your home, it's the end of the world, but we also have citizens market, last resort. We're actually looking at revamping that and trying to figure out how we can make that operate more efficiently. Yes, sir.
Yes. We know that Louisiana is extremely litigious state, but how do we compare to other states, and how does that impact our rates? And also, maybe you can answer the question about the 2-year statute in which you can sue. Right now, you have 1 year on tort cases to sue versus 2, but right. Versus the litigious environment.
Okay, let's see here. Let's go with auto first. So in Louisiana, we have the average number of personal autos that are involved in a wreck. The national average is somewhere around 40%. 40% of the cars that you insure get in some type of, accident. Louisiana, we're like 46%, so we're a little bit higher on that. Of those cars that have some type of physical damage, you hit a tree, you hit a garage door, you hit another car, the national average for bodily injury is like 25%. 25% of the people that are in those cars that got in a wreck have some type of bodily injury. Louisiana, 56%. Of the 56% of those numbers that have an attorney, Louisiana is 2.3 times more likely to have attorney involved in that 56% than the national average. So, to your point, you get in a wreck in Louisiana, you're more likely to have bodily injury, feel that you got hurt. For some reason, people in Louisiana are softer. Don't know why. And for some reason, when we get injured, we hire an attorney 2.3 times more so than the national average. Auto side. Homeowner side. And I'm using Louisiana citizens because that's data that I have access to as Commissioner of Insurance. Insurance companies have their own, litigation factors, but in Louisiana citizens, I have direct access to that. Starting with Hurricane Katrina, Rita, and then all the rest, whenever they had a hurricane and you had claims, 1% of those claims went to litigation. 1% of the people that had a claim in Louisiana citizen policyholders had a claim, had filed litigation, filed against Louisiana citizens. Hurricane Laura, 8.8% of those claims filed litigation. Delta, 6.8%. Zeta, 3%. For some reason, it was just where it went. There wasn't a lot of litigation. Ida, 7.7%. Of those claims, 100% filed bad faith litigation. They all filed bad faith. Every single one, 100% of those claims that people hired an attorney, that 7% or 8% from those hurricanes, they all stood up and said, "Oh, bad faith." We have a very loosely ill-defined law, 2 laws actually, that just you can allege bad faith, and it's really easy. The bar it's not even low; it's non-existent. And then there's some penalties on there that just make it very attractive to file litigation. Again, you can still file, and again, if you didn't get taken care of, you should. But insurance is about being made whole. It's not being made better than. And that's what happens in a lot of these cases like that. So that's 2 examples on there. Your question, 2-year prescription. So 2-year prescription is a bill working its way through the system right now, which on the auto side, if, again, you're involved in a wreck, you have 1 year to file a lawsuit, to file litigation. There's a proposition to move that to 2 years. Good, bad, it's good if we pass some other tort reform, some other legal reform. It's a bad bill if we pass nothing. If that's the only bill that passes, all that does is allow a claimant 23 months and 29 days before they have to go and tell the insurance company, "Oh, by the way, I'm suing you." And look, a lot of times, and the carriers will tell me, the first time I hear that I'm being litigated against is 11 months after a wreck occurred. Well, what happened during that 11 months? Well, those people that had that bodily injury, they went and got a doctor, they're seeking treatment, their medical bills are racking up, and then at the last hour they say, "Oh, by the way, I'm filing suit, here's my bills, pay me," and all the other expenses that go along with it. So the 2-year is a good rule if we change some of the other, again, direct action, collateral source, and I'm throwing terms out here. Y'all can find Chris Broadwater, he'll explain all those to you. But we've got to continue reform, and that's one. So hope that answered. Anybody else? I got time for one more question.
Hi, Tim, and thank you for being here. I've had the pleasure of serving under you're my 6th insurance commissioner.
You've been at this a long time.
Too long. We have crisis in our insurance offices equal to what the state's dealing with, and what I have a real problem and worry about is when you get south of the lake or south of I-12, when homeowner property, when mom and dad pass away and the kids get the house and they want to do something with it, the only market open to me is Louisiana citizens. And so my question is this: from a reinsurance capacity, is the Louisiana citizens capacity big enough to pick up these risks south of the lake that we're trying to help people navigate?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Louisiana citizens is really all of us. Because if Citizens goes insolvent, if they don't have enough money to pay claims for a future event, after a future event, then we all get assessed through our homeowners policies. We're currently being assessed from Katrina. You still pay, I don't know what it is, $125, $200 a year as part of your homeowners policy, paying off $1 billion that Citizens had to borrow after Katrina. So it will always be financially solvent because we have to shoulder that burden. The goal of the board, which I am on the board of Louisiana Citizens, is to make sure that we have enough reinsurance for all those risks that go in. And it is expensive, and they're going through their reinsurance renewal right now, and they're buying the most reinsurance they've ever in the history of Louisiana Citizens Property Insurance Company. So we want to make sure that they've got the protection so that we don't have to come to you the next time that there's an event and Citizens, doesn't have enough money. So, Chris, I know you had one. I'll let you ask. I said I'd only do one more, but speaker's privilege, you can have one more.
I know you talked about what's going on in the state. Can you touch on just briefly interactions with Congress relative to flood insurance and how that's affecting the state?
Flood insurance, yeah, that's the fifth wheel on the insurance crisis. And look, and you've heard it said before from the person that would have stood here. Flood insurance is not regulated by the Department of Insurance, but I certainly advocate for a better program. Risk rating 2.0 is a disaster. And look, I have a lot of people that tell me, we need to have a national reinsurance program. The state needs to create a subsidized program. I'm like, well, you do not want government running an insurance program. Just look at flood, look at NFIP. We don't want that. But you've got, I think it's St. Charles Parish was leading a charge in litigating to force, and it's amazing that they have to force FEMA to reveal how they came up with the current rating structure. You've got some great congressional representation up there, all of our delegation, both senators and 5 congressmen, congresswomen, they're all fighting and speaking with a very loud voice, unified voice from Louisiana and other states about FEMA has got to fix this. I certainly understand that it needs to be, actuarially justified, but this is a federal program. This is your dollars. And so if anything needs to be subsidized, I think that one does. Because, I tell people all the time that, I live in Missouri and why should I pay for somebody that lives in, Fouchon for their flood, or Homa? Why should I pay for their homes being flooded? Well, guess what? NFIP pays for flood every time the river goes out of its banks, up there. But also, so much energy is produced. We truly have a working coast. We've got men and women that need to live in proximity to where those refineries and those oil rigs and those helicopter, landing pads to fly out to the rigs are. They need to live close to the coast. So we need to make sure that it's affordable. And the flood is a key component. I haven't had the opportunity to go and testify, but I've let our congressional delegation know that, when called upon, I will be there and help bring stories of why we need an affordable flood program. I mean, we're already, like I said, auto, homeowners, everything. It's just another thing that gets piled upon, by the consumer. And so we're trying to fight that. I'm certainly an ally. So, look, thank y'all for letting me be here. And I'll tell you, they were telling me that they start with the worst speaker, so your day will get much better. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you.